Okay, so we are getting into exponents. So when dealing with exponents, there are a few rules. Some of them you might not see until Algebra 2. This is usually seen in my Algebra 2 class. But some of these, it's just good to know all the rules. When multiplying exponents, let's say you have x to the third times x to the fifth. Rules of exponents, you add the exponents. You do not multiply them. This would get you x to the eighth. When subtracting exponents, rules of exponents, you subtract them. This would get you x to the fifth. If you see something in parentheses like this is called raising to a power. This is when you actually do multiply the exponents. If there is a number in front of the x, and you have a number on the outside, this is called a power of a product rule. And that is when you take this exponent and apply it to the base of the exponent and its coefficient. 4 to the second power is 16. This would get you x to the sixth. Power of a fraction rule. You apply the exponent to the top and bottom number. So let's say I had a 3 here. That would get me 1 over 8. Sorry if it's sloppy. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the first power is itself. And when dealing with negative exponents, you take the exponent and put it in the denominator as a positive and a 1 on top. And fractional exponents, if you ever see something like 7 to the 1/2 power, this would be rewritten as the radical is the denominator. The numerator is the exponent. So this is basically 2 radical 7. So those are all the rules going over each one. This is a radical calculator I like to use. It simplifies radicals for you. Let's say, for example, I had the square root of 68. It will simplify it for you and give you the decimal version. A lot of times we want just the simplified version. My personal, scientific calculator does it for me. I have a TI-36X Pro. It was like $20 on Amazon. It simplifies for me, but I have a lot of students whose calculators don't simplify it for them. So I would use this radical calculator here. It works just fine. So let's start getting into the very short unit, not that long at all, on Khan Academy. So we're going to be dealing with exponents and radicals. I would not worry about the unit test just yet until we're finished with doing radicals. So usually I like to spend 2 weeks on exponents, 2 weeks on radicals, and then we can do the unit test from there. I have lots of worksheets for this unit. Okay, so it says to rewrite this in the expression 5 to the nth power. Well, we need to simplify this. This basically has a base of 5, so then we can do -5 minus 8, which is -13. So this would be 5 to the -13th power. If they wanted us to rewrite it as a positive, we would rewrite it like that. But it looks like they won't be asking us to write it to the write it like that, so it's fine. So this one here, rules of division. When dividing exponents, you subtract. -7 minus -13 gets you -7 plus 13, which is 6. Rules of fractions, when multiplying, you add them. This gets me to the -10th power. This, you're multiplying, it would get you x to the 9th power. Oh, I used the wrong base, sorry, 9 to the 9th power. And -6 minus -5 is -6 plus 5, which is -1. Super easy multiplying and dividing. Okay, now let's look at powers of products and quotients. Well, first you want to do what's in the parentheses. Rules of exponents. When you multiply, you add them. That would get me 2 to the -2nd power. Then that to a power of 2. This would get me 2 to the -4th power. So, what did they do? It looked like they applied the 2. So they got 2 to the -14th times 5 to the 10th. And then if you combined it, oh, I couldn't combine the 2 and the 5. I'm so sorry. I can't combine these. These are two different bases. You cannot combine them. So what you can do is just apply the 2 to both of them. Sorry about that. Okay, same thing here. I can't combine, but I can apply that -9 and I would get positive 63 and positive 18. Okay, if I apply that 6 times 2 is 12, -5 times 2 is -10. So it should be this one. And then they changed it to a positive 10. So it actually would be this one. Sorry, they didn't want to write it. It would technically be the last one, but then they took that -10 on the bottom and they made it positive. So if something is negative in the denominator, to make it positive, you just put it in the numerator. And then it becomes positive. That's what they did with that one. Okay, so that would get me -30 on top, -15 on the bottom. If I flipped both of them, they would then be 15 on bottom, 15 on top, 30 on the bottom, and they would become positive. Did I do that backwards? Yeah, I did, sorry. It should be 7 to the, okay, so yeah, basically, maybe I should have wrote it out. So this is 3 to the -30, right? This is 7 to the -15th. If you applied that 5 to both of them, then you flip it and they become positive. I selected the wrong one. They look very close, but this one's 3 to the 15th. It should say 3 to the 30th. Oops, little mistakes. Okay, products of powers challenge. Which expression is equivalent? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the 5th, which would also be this one and that one. I lied. That's a 3 and a 2. They try to throw you off with some little things. Little things throw you off. Okay, so let's see. 2 to the 5th power. This would get you 6 to the 6th, so it wouldn't be that one. Okay, so 2 to the 5th power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 32. 3 to the 5th power would be 243. And if you multiplied those together, you would get 7,776. Okay, now if you actually did 6 to the 5th power, you would get the same answer. So that's also equivalent. Let's try this one again. Okay, which ones are equivalent? Well, if I combine those, I would get 7 to the 4th. And if I would see what that equals, that would get me 2,401. So let's see, what else would get me that? That would be 7 to the 4th. This also would be 2 minus -2 is 7 to the 4th. 6 minus, nope, 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 just those two. Okay, this, if I'm minus, I would get 4 minus 3 minus -1, which is -3 plus 1, which is 4 to the -2nd, which is 1 over 4 to the 2nd, which would be this and this. And that's it. And so on. You're just seeing what's equivalent. And that's pretty much the beginning of this unit here. So yeah, exponents, and then we do square roots and things like that, simplifying square roots. So right now we're not worried about square roots. We're just focusing on exponents. Chris tried to rewrite the expression. Okay, where did Chris mess up? Well, let's see. What did Chris do? He combined those. He got -5. -5 to the 3rd power should be -15. Where did he get this -2 from? He messed up in step 2. Okay, this would get me 1/5 to the 4th power, which would be the same thing as 1 over 5 to the 4th, which would be this here, or 5 to the 1st over 5 to the 4th. And this would also be equivalent to that, because if you had 5 to the -4th, you would just rewrite it as 1 over 5 to the 4th. Oh, wait, hold on. That would get you -3. That's not one of them. Oops. That would be 0. This would be -4. Okay, that one works too. So actually those two. Okay, so this calculator we'll use when we're simplifying radicals. So yes, just try your best when dealing with exponents. They can get very complex. I've given a guide and the rules. You should look over the guide as well. Maybe even try the practice problems here. And then, look at the answers. So let's look at some of these. Okay, it says simplify 3 times 4 to the third. Well, you can't do anything with that one unless you want to see what it equals. So you would get 4 to the third, which is 64, multiply that by 3, and you would get 192, which is what they got. For these ones, 4 times 2 is 8, and then x to the third times x to the third would be x to the 6th. For these, you would add, you would get x to the 8th. This would get you 4x to the 5th. This will get you 6 to the 2nd, x to the negative 3rd, which can be rewritten as 1 over x to the 3rd. Anything to the 0 power is 1. This would get you 1, and then that negative, so negative 1. So parentheses first, and then deal with the rest. And so, yeah, you can kind of go through these. I'm just making sure I got them right. It looks like for number 5, they wanted you to actually do the math, and you would get 36. Yeah, 6 to the 2nd is 36. Okay, this year you would multiply and you get y to the 12th. This year you would take the 4 and you would get x to the 8th, y to the 4th. When dividing, you simplify. 6 divided by 2 is 3. X to the 7th over x to the 4th gets you x to the 3rd. And then they get a little more complicated as we go, right? You can see these are a little more complex. Let's start with the basics for now and go into the more complex ones next time. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. You can send me certain questions, screenshot it, let me know. Good luck.